Hello, everyone, and welcome to the NEC On The Run podcast. Alongside Ron Ratner, I'm Kyle Turner, and today we're talking men's basketball. So, Ron, give me a quick update on where we stand.
It's getting good, Kyle. We're halfway, nearly halfway through the season, and we're all bunched up. So let's take a look. Where do we stand? Let's start with Mount St. Mary's. They are at the top, but I don't want to focus on the Mount just yet. I want to look at the teams bubbling underneath. The Mount has a one-game lead over three teams: Fairleigh Dickinson, St. Francis U, and Wagner. Then you got four teams right behind them tied for fifth place. So what you're looking at now is two games separating 1 and 8 in the standings. I want to look at three teams that earned sweeps last week and see where they stand in the NEC hierarchy. Let's start with St. Francis U. Kyle, did you know that when the Red Flash swept Bryant and Central last week, it gave SFU their first ever 3-game win streak in NEC history? That's 35 years. And how they did it? Well, it didn't come easy, certainly in the first half of the equation when they played Bryant last Thursday. St. Francis rallied from 19 down at one point and 17 down at halftime to win 71-65. Great comeback. Second half comeback was actually the fourth largest comeback in the nation this season. How did they do it? Well, they received some tremendous play from freshman guard Isaiah Blackman. Isaiah Blackman scored 16 of his 19 points against Bryant in the second half, finished 8 for 10 from the field. 2 days later against Central, hit all 9 of his shots. That's 17 for 19 from the week. That's just ridiculous is what it is. In doing so, he became the NEC's just the fourth player in NEC history to earn Player of the Week and Rookie of the Week, joining Kane Broom on Sacred Heart, NEC Hall of Famer Corsley Edwards, and former Wagner big man Mladen Mutsavic, who played in the early 90s. The great thing about Blackman is his efficiency in his game. He's shooting over 57% from the floor, ranks 4th in the conference in field goal shooting, yet he's just 6'1". He's the only guard, he's the only guy under 6'5" who's among league leaders. So they have a gem in Isaiah Blackman, the Red Flash. They have Josh Nebo, another excellent freshman. And then you look at the veteran players, your Greg Browns and your Ronnie Drinnans, and suddenly you're looking at a team that can be a contender. So St. Francis U, big road sweep last week, 1 game back of the pack. Let's turn our attention to Sacred Heart. Pioneers started the year 1-3 in league play. Things looked a bit bleak, but suddenly the turnaround has come. SHU's won 3 of their last 4, including a sweep last week of first place Mount St. Mary's at home, then went on the road to beat then first place Wagner. So great week for Anthony Latina's team. In that win over the Mount, that was a CBS Sports Network national TV game for the conference. What a game this was. No less than 30 lead changes in the game. Nobody led by more than 5 points the whole game. In fact, either team's lead only exceeded 2 points in the second half for 73 total seconds. So it was back and forth, back and forth. Who was the hero? I think Tevin Falzone had the game here that you want to look at. He scored all 15 of his points in the second half, made back-to-back threes late in the game, which gave Sacred Heart the lead for good. Finished with a double-double. Falzone's playing great at this point. He's showing his range. He's been big on the boards, and he's made 25 straight free throws, which is great for a big in this league. How else are they doing it? Of course, we have Kane Broom, leads the league in scoring, 21 points a game. He can score at will at times. One of the best, actually one of the most prolific point producers we've had in the NEC in some time. And then you look at Quincy McKnight, who's come up clutch for the Pioneers 2 times in the last couple of weeks. Had the game-winning layup in overtime against Central Connecticut. Then last week, he set up Jordan Allen for the key bucket in the win over Wagner. So Sacred Heart, 4-4 in the league, back to contending status for Anthony Latina and the Pioneers. Next up, Robert Morris. Robert Morris has been the gold standard in the NEC for the better part of the last decade. They've won 5 regular season titles, 3 tournament titles, have won postseason games in each of the last 4 years. But after a 1-4 start in league play this year, maybe people were starting to wonder, is this the year? Maybe they take a step back. Lo and behold, Colonials have won 3 in a row now, back to 500 in league play. You can never count out Andy Toole's teams. In these 3 wins, how have they gotten it done? with a short rotation, defense, allowing just over 50 points, 52.3 points a game. Opponents are shooting only over a tad over 37% in these games. They're stealing the ball, and they've got great contributions from Kayvon Stewart and sophomore Elijah Minnie. Those two guys have keyed the charge with Rodney Pryor. Rodney Pryor, who finally returned to action. He missed 3 games with a concussion. He's back, but in his absence, those two players stepped up. Stewart's found his shooting touch from the outside. He averaged over 16 points a game last week. And then you have Minnie, who's become a defensive presence, had 6 blocks against Bryant, also averaged a double-double. So things are starting to come together for the Colonials. We'll talk a little bit later. They have a big game coming up this week with Mount St. Mary's. They also have to face SFU. We'll see how it goes. But as we said last week, when it comes time for March, you can never count out Bobby Moe. Hey Kyle, while we're talking Robert Morris, do you mind if I take a Twitter timeout?
It's your only timeout. If you want to use it now, go ahead.
I'm calling it. I want to use the timeout now. Let's go. Ray Curran. He's the one. He's the author of this week's Twitter timeout. Ray Curran, a writer for Big Apple Buckets, good friend of the conference. This is what he said last week. Like as the MAC might need steaks and garlic to kill Manhattan this March, NEC may need the same for Robert Morris. So like we just said, they're not easy to put down. You know they're going to be there, and they're starting to play better. Great tweet from Ray Curran from Big Apple Buckets.
All right, Ron, as we come out of the Twitter timeout, is there anything you want to throw in to where we stand real quick?
Of course. Battle of Brooklyn. How can you not mention the Battle of Brooklyn? Fighting the elements of Winter Storm Jonas on the outside. They were playing the Battle of Brooklyn. Wasn't the greatest game. The teams were cold from the outside, but it was a close game to the final minutes. Wanted to give a shout out to Chris Hooper, who was named MVP of the 41st Annual Battle of Brooklyn. They'll be rematching on NEC TV on President's Day in February. Always a good one. Looking forward to the next installment of LIU and St. Francis.
Well, the Battle of Brooklyn is always entertaining. Ron, that's where we stand, and you took your Twitter timeout, so we can't go to that anymore. Give me your quote this week on Who Said It.
Okay, Kyle, you're 2 for 2 so far in the Who Said It competition, but I think I can stump you this week. All right, ready?
Yep.
Who said this? We look around for it right around the 8-minute mark of the second half. You'll see their hands on their knees, and we're still standing up. All right, Kyle Turner, who is it?
Is that Mount St. Mary's head coach Jamie and Christian?
Close, but no, 2 out of 3 now. That is from the Mount. It's Gregory Graves. And Gregory Graves, of course, talking about Mount Mayhem. And I brought this up this week because we are premiering on our CBS Sports game on Thursday night's Robert Morris Mount game, a piece on Mount Mayhem, where it started, what does it mean? Greg Graves is part of the piece, a bunch of the other Mount players. It's really cool, and I'm looking forward for everybody getting a chance to see it.
All right, Ron, well, it should be interesting to see in that feature how Mount Mayhem came about, what it really is. Now, what do you got for me on Did You Know? Give me a historical fact here.
I don't know if it's historical, but it's something that just defies convention, I would say. Would you think that playing at home is a big advantage in the NEC? Of course. Not this year. No way. This year so far, check out these stats right here. Last Saturday and Sunday, because we played both days, all 5 road teams won those games. Last Thursday, 3 of the 5 road teams won, so it made it 8 out of 10 last week. So far this year, over the first few weeks of league play, 57.5% of the games have been won by the road team. If you take away the first day of competition, it goes up over 60%. So may have something to do with students not being back, and you get that sort of extra drive when the places are packed to the gills. But the road teams have done something that's not easy. Winning outside of your own comfort zone, not seeing your own rims, not having your own fans. That's a pretty good did you know, I think.
Well, Ron, that is quite the interesting did you know. I would assume that home court advantage would be an actual advantage, but it doesn't sound like it so far in the
Not yet.
NEC play.
We'll see.
Now, Ron is going to take us to the NEC film room where he's going to dissect a couple of plays from the past week.
We are back in the NEC film room where we look at 2 key plays from last week's action. We'll start in Smithfield. Bryant, St. Francis U, last Thursday. This is to illustrate what a great passing big man Bryant has in Marcel Petway. What you see here is SFU, they're going to be in a 2-3 zone. Shane McLaughlin's going to work it to the wing, and then watch the position, first of all, that Petway gets in the lane. Roll it. So he's posting up Ronnie Dridden, gets the ball, stop it right there. So what you'll see now is Josh Nebo is going to go over for the double team. See Greg Brown at the back of the zone here. He's going to spot Dan Garvin making a cut. While this is all happening, smart Hunter Ware. He sneaks behind the defense, gets to the baseline, and then Petway, that's where the magic happens. Petway does all the work, finds him for the easy layup. Roll it. Boy, when you get a big that can do that, half the battle is won. Bryant Bulldogs, good stuff there. Play number 2 in the NEC Film Room keeps us in Smithfield. This time Robert Morris is in town. Saturday, RMU Bryant, and you have to see what Elijah Minnie can do. Wow, is this guy an athlete or what? Right here, what you're seeing is Isaiah Still is driving to the hoop. Way back here on the left-hand side of your screen, that is Elijah Minnie. Elijah Minnie's going to wind up scoring here on a putback. Right now, he's, I don't know, roughly 30, 35 feet away from the hoop. Roll it just a bit here. Stop. So Still is in his layup motion, and where is Minnie? He's at the three-point line. That's 20 feet, 9 inches away. Still goes up, misses the layup, and just watch what Minnie can do. He slams that home. That play was number 6 on the SportsCenter Top 10 on Saturday. He had a bunch of dunks in the last couple weeks. That was the best of them all. Elijah Minnie, Robert Morris.
All right, we're back from the NEC Film Room where Ron just broke down a couple of key plays from last week for you. Now, Ron, give me the NEC on the dial. What's going on TV this week?
Big Thursday night, doubleheader action. We start, as we mentioned earlier, national game between Mount St. Mary's and Robert Morris. To me, this is one of the best rivalries in the conference. If not, maybe LIU St. Francis Brooklyn, but this is right up there. These teams have met in the playoffs 6 of the last 10 years, and back in the day, when I'm talking about 2008, 9, 10, it was kind of frosty, the relationship between the two teams. They didn't really like each other all that much. I remember a legendary halftime segment that we pre-taped with Dallas Green of RMU and Shauna Tupum of Mount St. Mary's, where they wouldn't even look at each other as we were taping it. Those games are always great. 7 p.m. Thursday night, CBS Sports Network. They were preseason 1 and 2. They're not 1 and 2 now. Mount's 1. Robert Morris isn't 2. But they're only a game off being number 2 right now. Looking forward to a good one there. When that game's over, just change your channel to either MSG Plus or Fox College Sports. We'll see Wagner and St. Francis Brooklyn. Wagner won the first game pretty easily between the two teams when they met last week. These are arguably the 2 most physical teams in the conference. Should be a good game out in Staten Island, 9 p.m.
Also, fans, don't forget you can check out all the other NEC contests on necfrontrow.com. That's it for this week's edition of the NEC On The Run podcast, where we talked men's basketball. For Ron Ratner, I'm Kyle Turner. We'll see you guys next week.